Talk. Let's go. Good evening, everybody. How you guys doing? It's me, your boy Ryan Flowers, aka Clutch Sports Talk, and welcome to another live edition of NFL Matchups. It is not Thanksgiving. It is Christmas Eve, man. I hope you guys are doing all right. Hope you're tucked in, got your shopping done, spending some time with the family before the big day tomorrow with the kids and the rest of the fam. But I'm here to get you guys locked and loaded for the beginning of week 17 and get you started and look back at week 16 on what took place there. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the Dallas Cowboys a little bit, and that good win. A little confusing, but I'll give you my thoughts on that. Then we're also going to be talking about the San Francisco 49ers and what the expectations should be for them moving forward as they've been officially eliminated from the playoffs going into this playoff season. And then finally, I want to talk about the, Michael Penix Jr., his start. He got the start this past weekend over the Giants. I know a lot of people are like, he might be the guy. I'm here to tell you otherwise, right? So also we're going to do my Real or Not segment. We'll do that. Then we're going to break down and give you guys my previews and predictions for week 17 around the National Football League, and then wrap up the show with my fantasy impacts because it's championship weekend. It's coming down to it. So if you're in the finals, you're in the semifinals, whatever it is, you need my information. So I'll make sure I get that over to you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. This is NFL Matchups with me, Ryan Flowers. Let's go.
We're going to be here all day, baby. I like this kind of party. I like this kind of party, baby.
All right, welcome back in, man. Happy Christmas Eve. It is the big day tomorrow. People are tracking Santa already. He's already making off his drops already as it is. I know some people doing some last minute shopping, so make sure you stay safe out there in those streets. But we're here to talk about some football, and we'll jump straight into it. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys. They got the win on Sunday Night Football against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I will say this. I've given the Cowboys crap all year round. From the beginning of the season or the offseason up until September. I haven't really been watching them. Kind of pretty much turned my back on them a little bit here. So I was watching that game on Sunday, and couple things shot out to me. Number one, I thought they did a good job. They showed a lot of mental toughness, knowing that they were eliminated with the win, earlier in the day with the Washington Commanders beating the Philadelphia Eagles. It meant that they were officially eliminated from the playoffs. So to come out and play a team that is looking to stay in the playoff hunt, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they were a spoiler to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So a good job by them showing up, because typically that's not something the Cowboys have done in past history. They don't show up too often. And that's funny because when they need to show up, they don't show up. And in times where they don't necessarily need to show up, they showed up. Now, the win, it kind of affects their draft picking or where they're going to be selecting at. And I get all that. Now, some fans may say it's a stupid win. Some may say, it's a good win because at the end of the day, these guys are still professional paid athletes. They're competitors. And I get all that too. It just makes it worse though, because here's probably what's going to happen, right? Number one, Cooper Rush played a really good game. 226 yards. You got the ball to CeeDee Lamb early in that game. CeeDee Lamb was kind of a little ineffective. Obviously, he had the shoulder injury that he was dealing with. But getting back to the Cowboys in essence and what that win really means, they've got 2 games left. They got one against the Eagles and then one against the Washington Commanders at home to wrap up the season. Now, in Jerry's mind, and I've been a Cowboys fan for God knows 20 plus years, I don't know the man. I've met him before when I used to work for the Cowboys back in the day. I did meet him once, but getting into his psyche, he's probably looking at as well, if we could finish even or 500, I might bring this back, because guess what? We've had players that were hurt. Michael Parsons missed time. DeMarcus Lawrence out for the year. Dak Prescott, missed the remainder of the season. The coach did okay. Let's run this back. And the big problem with that is that these wins that they're accumulating, honestly, it's setting the wrong precedents. And I think that's where most fans are coming from. It's kind of like, it's not that you want to see them go down in flames. I would assume the rest of America does. But from a fan's perspective, as a guy that's, invested a lot of time and money into the Dallas Cowboys, something drastic needs to change, obviously. Now, it's not going to come from the ownership because Jerry Jones owns that team. He's not giving it up anytime soon. But you keep winning these games, you're giving this man false sense that, hey, I actually did pick these guys all right. I'm good with the running backs. Rico Dowdle's our guy. The coach is our guy. And that's not the case. Now, I can foresee this happening. I don't think they'll beat the Eagles. I still think they can maybe get the Washington Commanders at home. But here's the deal. If they keep winning games, if they split the next two and finish at 500, Jerry Jones is going to be like, let's just roll back with the same team. And they're going to be cheeks again next year. And again, I won't support them because unless they drastically do something, and really they can't do much in free agency because they don't have the money. They're paying a lot of guys right now. And then Michael Parsons is on the docket there too. So go figure, right? You paid Dak, you paid CeeDee Lamb. Who's going to get paid now, right? So you can't actively go out and get guys off free agency. And on top of that, the drafting, it's been a little suspect. They've hit on some guys and they've whiffed on some guys. So, which is mostly every team. I understand that. But this game that they're playing, trying to win and be competitive, I get it. The players, obviously, they're auditioning, right? Some of these guys may not be on the Cowboys roster next year, but guess what? They're putting out good tape for the rest of the teams to look at and say, all right, your team sucked, but how are you playing, right? So I get it. That's why the Raiders won this past weekend, which I'll talk about that later. They won, but really the team is not winning because they're not going to be any good any next year anyway. I don't foresee that because Jerry Jones is going to think everything's going to be all right. So, that's kind of what I've learned a little bit from them is that when they need to show up, they don't show up. And when they don't have to necessarily show up, like they didn't really have to show up on Sunday, and they ended up, and they played really well. Honestly, the defense stepped up big time. That big turnover in the end of the game to seal that game. So, there's some pieces there, but the win, it doesn't affect anything for them. Only in the mind of Jerry Jones that he's accumulated this team and that these guys can play. So therefore, I'm going to run it back next year. And as long as Dak Prescott is healthy, we'll be a lot better. So Cowboys fans, just buckle up. It's going to be tumultuous the next couple of years because it's going to get worse before it gets any better. And I've been saying that for 20-something years. So, hey, it is what it is. All right. Another team that was eliminated from the playoff situation, the San Francisco 49ers, they were officially eliminated with that loss to Miami. A lot of things to break down with them. They've been able to draft well the last couple of years. They've drafted a lot of really talented players, including Brock Purdy, who was the Mr. Irrelevant. Who would have thought, right? He would be in contention right now for arguably signing a huge, huge deal to remain a 49er. But the San Francisco 49ers will find themselves in somewhat of a financial gymnastics session, I would say. They have a lot of guys that are going to be free agents and some key guys such as Tre'Davious Ward, Hafunga, their safety, and I think Dre Greenlaw, who's going to be a free agent. So, they just signed one of their cornerbacks to a really lucrative deal. But the biggest question is Brock Purdy and what's the going rate? How much are you going to pay this guy, right? To be your starting quarterback. And we've seen down the stretch that he can't get it done. I know a lot of people love this guy. They thought he was better than Dak. He was better than a lot of other guys, and he's won a lot of football games. There's no doubt about that. But this is an ultimate team sport, and a lot of things have gone well for Brock Purdy. Now, a lot of 49ers fans are going to say, oh, well, that doesn't make any sense, and you're just hating. No, it just is what it is. I mean, he's a good player considering where he was drafted at, 7th round, Mr. Irrelevant, last pick of the draft. So they've gotten a lot out of this guy, and now he's going to be garnering at least, I don't know, upwards to 8 million a year. And if you really look at it, is he worth that? That's the question that the 49ers really have to ask, right? Or ask themselves and then eventually answer. My guess is that when you look at Brock Purdy, he's pretty average, right? Doesn't have a great arm. His mobility is pretty good. Doesn't he turn the ball over a lot? Lately he has, honestly. But is he the long-term solution moving forward because you're going to invest heavily in this guy? And this is the problem with quarterbacks is that you have to spend money on them. Now, the other question is, well, who's out there, right? Who's out there that you can go and get next year to start for this team? Sam Darnold, you had him in the building. He left via free agency to go sign with the Minnesota Vikings, not knowing that he would be the starter because J.J. McCarthy, or at least he was going to have to compete. But JJ McCarthy goes down, then a la Sam Darnold is on this run that he's with that right now for the 49ers, or excuse me, for the Minnesota Vikings. So do I think they pay this guy? I think they do. Should they? Probably not. That's probably, most teams should probably not pay the quarterback. Like Dallas should never pay Dak what they're paying him. But they looked at it, well, who else we got, right? Cooper Rush has filled in a good job, but Cooper Rush is just a backup. That's what he is, right? And I get it. He's got a better record right now than Dak Prescott, but Dak Prescott is by far still the better quarterback than Cooper Rush, right? But with the 49ers, who is in the way? Who's waiting in the wings there? No one. So they're going to lose guys like Debo, and who hasn't really had a great year to begin with, right? Their window for championship contenders is I think it's done for the time being. We'll see how they bounce back, because once you sign this quarterback and you give him that money, it's going to change things. And I know this season did not end well for them. And I know they still have 2 more games left, but if I'm them, I'm starting to evaluate some guys, putting young guys in. Maybe I don't need a Tre'Davious Ward or Travarius Ward or a Hufanga or Greenlaw, because I got some guys who we drafted over the years that maybe we can play them and it could be just as effective. I don't know, but they need to take the next 2 weeks and assess that for themselves, because you have a big decision with Brock Purdy. Logic is going to tell me that they're going to sign him. They're going to sign him. It may not be Dak Prescott money. It may not be some of the higher end guys like Tua, but he's going to get paid. He's going to get paid, and you're going to say goodbye to a lot of staples who've been wearing that 49er uniform, like a Debo, guys like that. So, the Niner Nation, the Niner gang, their season was full of injuries and mistakes and all the types of controversies, but it's officially going to be over in the next 2 weeks, and we'll see how they'll bounce back from that. All right, moving on. What else I learned? Michael Penix Jr. can play. Pretty solid debut. Nothing crazy. 18 for 27, 202 yards. He did throw 1 interception, which I don't think was all him, but no touchdowns. But he showed that he can play. Mind you, it was against the Giants. So you're going to have to put an asterisk to that. However, though, he did show a lot of arm talent. He showed a lot of poise in the pocket. He kind of got the offense moving a little bit better than what Kirk Cousins has been doing the last couple weeks, showing that's why they drafted him. Now, why they signed Kirk Cousins to that deal and then go draft the quarterback. You should have just been better off just drafting the quarterback, and you don't have to pay him down the road. But now you got to pay, or you're paying Kirk Cousins what he's getting paid now. So, the offense moved a lot more fluid, for sure. Bijan Robinson had a really good game. Drake London, they have talent. This team is not devoid of offensive prowess, for sure. Now, is he the future? He is now. He is now. And you got people on social media that are like, oh man, now you guys know why we drafted him. It's like, it's 1 game against the Giants at home, man. Now, obviously this team is probably more likely going to make the playoffs, because what happened to Tampa Bay, they basically shit the bed, and they're going to have to win out and still get some help. And maybe the Falcons will lose, because right now they own the tiebreaker between them, right? Because they swept them. They swept the season series. So there's a good chance they're going to make the playoffs. And what's going to happen when he has to go on the road, probably in the second round? Is he ready? It's late in the season and there's a lot at stake. So, I always thought he was a really good quarterback in college. There's no doubt that, we'll have to wait and see with him. But I'm not going to say he's going to come out here and just be trailblazing it, for sure. And if he does, then they did get their guy. So the good thing going for him is there's not a lot of tape on him as far as his professional games. He's only got the 1 with the Giants. So I don't know who they play next. I don't know their schedule. I guess we'll talk about that here in just a second when I get to my previews. But is he? I'm not going to get on here and just say, oh my God, he's the next thing. Don't know yet. That was a very small sample against a terrible team that's mailed it in. So you can build on that type of performance, I will say. He's got the potential to be a very key contributor of this offense, because they surrounded him really well. Doesn't have to do a lot. He just can't turn over the ball and just make the throws that you need to make, and let the defense play. And they did that on Sunday, and they got the dub. So we'll have to wait and see what Michael Penix Jr., how he's going to pan out the rest of the season. Maybe I'll get back on here and be like, yeah, see, he's still a rookie. So we can't give him all this credit, right? So we'll have to wait and see. All right, moving on. Real or nah? I like this segment. Going to pose some questions. I'm going to tell you if it's legit or not, really, or real or not. Real or not, will the Texans overcome injuries? I'm going to say nah. This last slew of injuries, especially to Tank Dell, prayers up to him. He's done for the year. He may not even play football again, so that's unfortunate. They lost Jimmy Ward. They've lost some other guys on defense as well, too. So that's going to be a problem. Stephon Diggs ain't coming back. Nico Collins is still there, but, he's going to be the lone guy out there unless someone else steps up. Now, they did go out and claim Deontay Johnson from the Ravens off the waiver wire, so maybe he might come in and help them out. But they're going to have to really bow up here because they got a big one on Christmas, and then they got to close out the week to close out the season. So, they won the division, so they can't drop no further than the fourth, right? So they'll be at least the minimum, the fourth seeded team in the AFC. But I just don't think that they can overcome the injuries because it's a lot of key guys that are out. Now, they have depth, but they have a lot of inexperience, and I don't think you want that going on or experimenting with that right now, especially as we get closer and closer to the playoffs. So will the Texans overcome injuries? I'm going to say nah. All right, next one. With Jayden Daniels' recent performance on Sunday, did his performance on Sunday lock up the Rookie of the Year honors for Jayden Daniels? I'm going to say real. Now, a couple weeks ago, I was on here saying Brock Bowers probably should win that. And I'll be okay if they gave a rookie offensive Rookie of the Year deal because he eclipsed 1,000 yards on Sunday. Even you can even look at the kid from Jacksonville who also eclipsed 1,000 yards receiving on Sunday too. What's his name? Brian Thompson Jr. I think that's his name. Like that's crazy, right? But Jayden Daniels did show in that game, and because he's a quarterback, he led his team down to a game-winning a drive. Now they got some luck, they got some help. But still, and he's been impressive throughout the season for sure. His versatility is what makes him a very hard matchup because he's not a willing runner. He'll run if he needs to, but he likes to throw that ball down the field. He's looking. So, there was a couple of lulls in the season with him this year, but overall, I think that he's kind of figuring things out. They got something going in Washington. Who would have thought they would be in contention right now? I don't think they're going to win the NFC East, but they're still battling for a playoff spot. And I believe, they get one more win this week. I think they're in. So that was a big performance by him and overcoming those 5 turnovers, mind you, and to win that game against one of the better teams, if not the best team in the National Football League. So I'm going to say, did his performance this past weekend lock up the Rookie of the Year for Jayden Daniels? I'm going to say that's a real. And let me know what you think in the comments. I mean, am I crazy? Yeah, I get it. Shout out to those other guys like Brock Bowers, because I was heavy on Brock Bowers. Like, he probably should have had it. What he's doing is groundbreaking for a tight end with a crappy quarterback and quarterbacks. So, all right, my final reel on will the Bengals take one of the AFC playoff spots? I'm going to say nah, only because they got a tough road ahead of them against them, right? They're currently sitting at the number 10 seed in the AFC with a sub 500 record, right? They're likely they can finish worst they can finish is 7-8. I don't know that's going to get the job done based on what's ahead of them, especially at the 10 seed team. They still got teams like the Chargers and the Broncos that are hell. And what happens with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens? One of those teams is not going to win a division. So guess what? That takes up another playoff spot that maybe the Bengals probably could have tried to secure. So their path is going to be tough. They still got to play the Broncos and they still got to play the Steelers to round out the season. And then they don't own any tiebreakers on top of that. So I guess the Colts, from what I'm reading, and the Dolphins, which I think the Dolphins they're hanging on the thread, but still, if those teams surpass them somehow or they're tied at the end of the year, they hold a tiebreaker. So they need a lot to happen in order to them to make the playoffs. So that's why I'm going to say, will the Bengals take one of the AFC playoff spots? I'm going to say, nah, they won't. All right. So that's what we got. That's my real or not. Let's move on to some previews and predictions for week 17 around the National Football League. Hold on, let me get some. I got to get some tea here, man. Losing my voice right here for the holiday. All right. Christmas Day. Move over NBA. The boys from the NFL are here to play, and they are going to steal all your ratings. Like, who watches the NBA anymore? What nerd watches the NBA anymore? Like, really? You really got to love basketball. You know, the NBA just ain't for me no more, man. I really don't care about it. I don't even know who's playing. Are the Lakers? I grew up in LA. I don't know if the Lakers are playing somebody, right? I don't even know. That was the game. You grew up in LA. The Laker game was coming on like, 3:00. You're like, that's the game. Everyone's opening your gifts. You go to your family's house and everyone's watching and eating dinner, watching that Laker game. Now, I think anyone could care less at this point. But anyway, we're here to talk about some NFL matchups. So we start with Christmas Day. Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Steel City. This is a big matchup for both teams. The Chiefs are looking to stay on top of the AFC in total. Steelers looking to try to, keep pace and stay on top and try to possibly win this AFC North to secure themselves a nice little position going into the playoffs. Offense for the Steelers has not looked good. Turnovers. Hopefully George Pickens play. That will help them. That'll get them going. And the defense is going to have to play a little bit better too. But Kansas City on the other end, Mahomes, this has not been a great season for him at all. But they've only managed to lose one game, and they're still plugging along, right? They got Hollywood Brown back and Marquise Brown back in the lineup last year. That proved to be a very, very big addition. I believe he caught 4 passes for like 40-something yards and a crucial conversion there to keep the drive going. The running game, Pacheco is going to get stronger and stronger. I like the Chiefs on the road to win this game and stay on top of the AFC as we move forward. And I think this might be the final straw for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They'll make the playoffs, but if they don't win this game and the offense kind of sputters again, it's kind of be like, you guys had a good run, but no one believes in you guys as being a legitimate contender. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs in this one. All right. On the flip side, you got the other AFC North team in the Baltimore Ravens. They got to keep pace, right? I forgot which game is first. I believe it's the Chiefs-Steelers game. So they're going to know what's going on with the current situation of that Steelers-Chiefs game. So if they know the Steelers are losing or have lost, then they know they have a prime opportunity to take the number 1 seed in the AFC North. You look at the Texans, I don't think they can do it better than what they are right now as far as the 4th seed is concerned. So, will they be playing at full tilt? Maybe. I mean, they're pros. I get it. But subliminally, they're probably like, well, we really can't change our playoff positioning any better, right? We got guys that are injured. So unless they want to just kind of, really play and go out there and kind of keep the rhythm, I can see that too. So, these guys are competitors, and I think CJ Stroud is going to want to come out here and prove, that he's a baller too, which I still think he is, right? And then you got the Ravens. Close win last week against their division rival. They had to pull it out in the end. The defense kind of bailed them out in the end. But they're going to have to really jump on the Texans. I think emotionally, the Texans are still reeling from the loss of Tank Dell. And it's not just, it was an injury, because guys get injured all year. It's just how it went down and how it may impact this guy. Have they put that behind them? Because after that injury took place in that Chiefs game last week, Saturday, they were not the same team. And you saw CJ Stroud crying and all that, and he addressed that. And, shout out to him, man. I mean, me personally, I probably would have tried to keep that to myself a little bit more as far as trying not to cry and just kind of motor through. But, he's a big advocate of like mental health and stuff like that. So, I appreciate that. Like I said, again, though, I probably wouldn't be doing all that because I feel like that sets precedence for the rest of the team, right? And they weren't the same. So, but nonetheless, as far as wins and losses are concerned, I kind of like the Texans still to win this game. So, although the Ravens are probably the better team right now, they're probably in better shape, but they're inconsistent. And I think CJ Stroud has a bone to pick, whether it's self-created in his mind, but I think he's going to have a really good game, and I think they're going to get after it. So I like the Texans at home on Christmas Day to win that game. So, all right, but then we got Thursday night. How crazy is that, man? We just had Monday night yesterday. Tuesday today, and then Christmas. And then we got games already on Wednesday, bro. Like, that's crazy. And then followed up by some Thursday night games with the Seattle Seahawks and the Chicago Bears. Seattle they're in the hunt. Like, every game for them is going to be a playoff game. Tough loss this past weekend against Minnesota. You got to go into Chicago and you got to get this win. This team is reeling. I believe they've lost like 10, 11 in a row. They weren't even competitive in their last game. If you want to tell the league that we are playoff contenders, You got to win this game. You have to win this game. I can see this game being a little bit closer, but in the end, I'm going to go to Seattle to win this game because for them, they know this is playoffs. Playoffs have started already for them because Arizona's out, San Francisco's are out, Niners are out. It's between them and the Rams. So I like Seattle in this game. All right, moving right along, we got three Saturday games, starting with the Chargers heading to the Northeast to take on the New England Patriots. This will not be a cakewalk. This will not be a cakewalk. We saw the Patriots get up on the Bills and made that game sporting. And Drake May is playing really good football. As a rookie quarterback, he's getting stronger and stronger, and he doesn't even have the talent that some of these other guys are dealing with, right? When you look at, Michael Penix Jr. now, you look at Caleb Williams, and you look at Jayden Daniels, what Bo Nix even has who does Drake May have? Hunter Henry? That's it. So this is an upset. I'm going to go with the Patriots to win this game. It's very hard for these teams on the West Coast or Pacific time zone traveling back east to win this game, to win these games. And it's a short week. So instead of getting there Saturday, they're getting there, Friday? It's a short week. Then you got Christmas mixed all and all that. It's going to be tough. I don't think the Chargers will be as prepared. I think the Patriots will get up on them, and then I think they'll be able to survive. So I'm going to go with an upset with the New England Patriots there. All right, then staying in the AFC West, you also have the Broncos going to Cincinnati. Another kind of a playoff game, too. I believe if the Broncos do win, they are in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat there. Bengals, like I said before, they got a tough road, man. They got to win this game and they need help, and they got to win next week's game. They have the firepower. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, looking really, really good. To me, it all depends on what Denver defense shows up. They've been had a couple weeks now, right? We saw what the Chargers did to them last week Thursday, and then you got Jamar Chase, who's even more talented than any wide receiver that the Chargers have. So with that said, I'm going to go with the Bengals to win this game in a shocker at home and get the win. I got Arizona Cardinals taking on the LA Rams. Rams are the better team. The Cardinals are a fractured team right now. There's been talks where it's kind of like, well, what do you do with Kyler Murray? Do you continue to play him? Do you play other guys? Are you basically just going to mail it in the rest of the season because you're out of the playoff contention? No sense in getting some of these key guys hurt. So with that said, I like the Rams. They still have a lot to play for. They're trying to win this division, whereas the Cardinals have literally nothing to play for. There might be some guys that are playing for some spots to stay on the team or somewhere else in the league. But overall, I think the Rams are clicking on all cylinders, and I like the Rams in this one. All right, we got Indianapolis Colts taking on the New York Giants. Colts in that playoff matchup too. They're battling still. The Giants, if I'm them, just continue to lose because you need a quarterback. Don't be like the Raiders, just lose. So with that said, I like the Colts to go into to New Jersey and play the Giants and get that win. I think it'll be close, but after a while, the Colts will be able to take over and win that game. All right, we got Jets and Buffalo Bills. Bills kind of got a scare this past weekend, right? They're still trying to keep pace with the Chiefs. The Jets, I don't know, man. This team is so talented, and they just can't figure it out. Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers are getting that connection going. There is some tension brewing. I don't know if you saw the press conference with Garrett Wilson, and they were basically asking him like, "Well, what's up, man? Like, you're not getting the ball." He's like, "Well, that's not on me." Right? Which we knew this was going to happen when you bring a Devontae Adams with Aaron Rodgers. That's his boy. Garrett Wilson had to have known that when Devontae Adams was there, it's like, oh, that's it. I'm number 2 now because Devontae Adams is going to get the majority of the share of the targets. Right? This team is still a dumpster fire. Even though they have talent, they need a new coach. They need a new quarterback. I like the Bills to win this game because they're motivated. I think they're not going to take them lightly. I think they're going to spank the Jets, to be honest with you. If I'm being frank with you, I like the Bills in this one. All right, Tennessee taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. This game really means nothing to anybody. It should be damn near a pick 'em. Jacksonville should have won that game against the Raiders. They had some missed opportunities. Tennessee, though, not mailing it in. You saw that against the Colts. So I like Tennessee in this game to win this game, to go on the road in Jacksonville and get the win. All right, Raiders and the Saints, they got their ass beat. 34-0. Spencer Rattler, I'm not going to put it all on him, but wow, that guy was deer in the headlights. Don't know who's going to be the starter for the Saints. Between him and the other guy, it don't matter. They suck. Alvin Kamara, you probably should go ahead and shut him down. Derek Carr, go ahead and shut him down. The rest of your guys, shut him down. The Raiders are they're looking to win, and so is their head coach. I don't think AP is going to be there next year, and I think to stick it to them, to the ownership, AP is like, I'm gonna coach the hell out of these dudes, and we're gonna win these games, and I'm gonna push the Raiders back so far up the draft board or back and down the draft board that you guys can't even get another quarterback. So screw you guys. For that reason, I'm gonna take the Raiders on the road in New Orleans to get that win. Oddly enough, that's funny to me though. All right. Carolina taking on Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Carolina, man, Bryce Young doing his thing, man. They got the win this past weekend. He's playing really well, despite what took place earlier this year. He got benched. He stayed with it. You look at Tampa Bay, they dropped that one on Sunday night to the Dallas Cowboys, man. Like, I don't see how you do that. This is going to be a tough game. I'm going to go with Buccaneers only because they're at home. If this game was in Charlotte, in Carolina, I would probably be more inclined to pick Carolina. But I think Tampa Bay's they're going to come out here and treat this game like a playoff because they need to, because they can't lose. They can't lose anymore. If they're going to want to try to win and hopefully the Falcons falter, then they got to win. So I like Tampa Bay in this game. All right, Dallas Cowboys on the road taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles, they're one game away from winning the East, NFC East. Shouldn't be a problem here. Shouldn't be a problem. They're going to be motivated. Couple things. They want to win the NFC East, and I believe they want to get Saquon Barkley that record that he'll pass up. What's his name? Damn, I forgot the running back's name for the Rams. Eric Dickerson. I think they're motivated. It is Dallas. Their biggest rival within the division. I like the Eagles in this one. I believe they should cover in this one easily. All right, Miami taking on the Cleveland Browns. Not sure who's going to be the quarterback for the Browns. It could be Dorian Thomas-Robinson, or it could go back to Jameis Winston. Either way, it doesn't matter. I will say it does matter because this game might be a little bit colder. They got to go to Cleveland, and we all know the Dolphins do not fare well in any weather below 40 degrees. Not sure of the temperature of the game, but it might be slightly colder. I like the Browns in this game to beat the Dolphins. And probably the biggest matchup of Week 17, the Green Bay Packers head to Minnesota to take on the Minnesota Vikings. After a really dominating performance this Monday night against the Saints, they are looking to kind of get back in the race here in the NFC North and improve their playoff positioning, right? So they dropped the game earlier to Minnesota where they were getting smoked. They made it sporting. They still lost. They feel like they're clicking on all cylinders right now. However, though, I like Minnesota at home to get the win. This defense is getting after it, and they're giving Sam Darnold more and more opportunities to get the ball to Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson. So I like the Minnesota Vikings in a shootout, but I'm going to go with the Vikings. And then on Sunday night, we got the Atlanta Falcons and the Washington Commanders. I believe that the Washington Commanders win this game. They're going to somehow get in the playoffs. Falcons looking to stay on top of the NFC South. This is going to be a very, very good game. I think, Dan Quinn knows the Falcons well. Obviously, it's different players, but he knows kind of some things going on over there. So, and it's going to be a rookie quarterback. Obviously, Jayden Daniels is a rookie quarterback, but he's got way more starts than Michael Penix Jr. in the NFL now. And I think that's going to be key for them. I think they're going to get after him. They're going to send a lot of blitzes. They're going to send a lot of pressure. And I like the Washington Commanders in this matchup on Sunday night, And then finally, to wrap up the week, we got the Monday night game between the Detroit Lions and San Francisco 49ers. The rematch of the NFC Championship game from last year. Obviously, these two teams are in totally different directions. I like the Detroit Lions to win and keep rolling because they're going to wrap up that number one seed and get home field advantage throughout the playoffs there. So there you have it. Those are the previews and predictions for this week. There you have it, man. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Before we get out of here, we got my fantasy impacts. So pay close attention. I'm going to name off some guys I think you might want to start them or sit them. So start Kendre Miller. This past week was a bad matchup for them. The Packers defense is a lot better, but this week the Raiders defense is not that great, and you're going to be at home. Although the team will lose, I think Kendre Miller will get back on track, and I think that he'll he'll garner most of the targets or the carries there. So I like him. In that same game, you got Alexander Madison for the Las Vegas Raiders. He's going to be splitting some time with Abdullah with the injury of Sincere McCormick and Zeus Miller. Whatever happened to that guy. I think Madison will garner some attention there. If anything, it'll be down the middle there. It'll be split. So I like him there. Gus Edwards from the LA Chargers. If you have him, make sure you start him. He's been pretty solid. And he scored 20 points, I believe, in fantasy points last week against the Broncos. As far as quarterbacks are concerned, Caleb Williams is going to be a matchup you want to kind of keep an eye on there. Like I said before, I kind of like the matchup a little bit. He's from what I'm reading here, he has the opportunity to throw for 3,000 yards, which a Bears quarterback hasn't done that in, I don't know, right? So although it hasn't been pretty, he does have a lot of volume because they're usually trailing a lot in games. So that may be somebody that you may want to start. Drake May is another guy that he's really rising. A lot of young quarterbacks. Bryce Young, another guy that's playing really well too. Anthony Richardson, who's that dual threat type of quarterback. That's somebody you might want to consider as well too. As far as wide receivers are concerned, Jalen McMillan from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he got another touchdown this past Sunday night against the Cowboys. Rashad Bateman from the Baltimore Ravens has definitely kind of stepped it up there for him, between him and Zay Flowers, for sure. He's given them another dimension that they haven't had really. And then Romeo Doubs, wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers, has also filled a void there that they've had in Green Bay. I know they have like a trio of wide receivers there, but he's been more consistent throughout the year, so maybe you want to roll with him. As far as tight ends are there, you got Dalton Schultz of the Texans. He should see a lot more targets this way because Tank Dell is going to be out, so for sure you're going to see him pick up his production there. And then Chig Okonkwono from the Tennessee Titans, the last couple of weeks has been really, really good. So if you don't have him, if he's out there in waivers, go get him. If you have him, you might want to start him depending on who your number one tight end is. So that's guy you want to consider. So there you have it. Those are my fantasy impacts for this week, for week 17. Let me know what you guys think, or come back and let me know in this clip if I was right about anybody, and we'll see if I know anything about something. So there you have it. So that's all I have, man. Right on time. Thanks you guys for listening, for joining in. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys on Sunday for NFL Sunday Wake Up. But until next time, man, Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to all you guys. Have a good night. Enjoy your family. Until next week, or until Sunday, this is your boy Ryan Flowers, and this is NFL Matchups. Like I always say, never settle till the work is done. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.